Hey everybody, happy Saturday. It is Catherine. Hello. I want to talk to you a little bit about something that's going on for me and maybe something that's going on for many of you out there as well. I want to talk about breakdowns, breakthroughs, and something called the little death. So, my dog's chasing squirrels. Oh, that was a huge squirrel leap. I wish you could have seen that. Anyway, my dog's going crazy chasing squirrels. He has a very strong prey drive. Anyway, I'm going to try not to be distracted by him. If I am, I'm going to put him inside. So, with the consciousness shifts that are happening right now, if you've been following me, paying attention to my lives, you know I've been talking about the very potent energy that is July. It's a nice little tight container of very intense, potent, powerful, palpable electric energies, and they are affecting all of us here on the planet, in the collective, on an individual level, in some very unique and profound ways. And so I really have stepped up my game this month. My call to action is to really give you guys a lot of information, a lot of help with what's going on right now. And maybe a few of you are experiencing, I wish that would stop. Thank you. Maybe a few of you are experiencing something that's called the little death. And I'm going to talk about that in just a second. But let's kind of start this conversation with talking about breakdowns. So I'm talking about like the feeling of a consciousness shift that is quite profound, and it makes you question everything. Your values, your beliefs, the people in your life, the things that you are doing on a daily basis, the way you're thinking. You are probably coming to some sort of culmination in how you are feeling, in the sense that you're having this realization of, I just can't do it this way anymore. Hi, Angela. I can't be this person anymore. I just can't do it this way anymore. And you literally feel like, if you take a quick inventory, that the way you were, let's just say a year ago, maybe 5 years ago, is radically different than who you are now. And you have different values now. You have different beliefs now. You have different feelings now. You feel entirely different as a person. You feel like you don't even know that version of you maybe a year ago. It feels like a stranger to you. And many of you may feel right now like you're a stranger in your own life. You are feeling rather robotic, or like your life from the time you get up in the morning until you put your head on the pillow at night feels like you're on autopilot. And this is causing you to question everything, and it makes you question your reality. It makes you feel like you're not sure what reality is anymore. Your dream life may be so vivid and rich that you are questioning how you feel in your daily, everyday waking life. Which one is real? Many of you are going through this, hey Patrice, in your own special and unique way. And it often can feel like a breakdown, like your mental capacity has hit the wall, right? And things are falling apart. You don't feel connected to your body. You don't feel connected to your own mind, meaning you feel like you are a slave to certain thoughts that are on a loop over and over again. There's going to be lots of private jets flying over, so I apologize for that. We're starting off Celebrity Golf Week here in Tahoe, and it's all the celebrities are coming up, so it's private jet galore, and it's really annoying. But this is too important not to share with you guys, so thanks for sticking with me. So I happen to have this spiritual bias because of the work that I do, because of the mentorship that I offer and provide to my clients. I have a spiritual bias about what a breakdown really is, that it always has this potential to be a breakthrough. The level of breakdown that you are experiencing, meaning how painful it is, how intense the shedding of the layers might be as you are questioning yourself, questioning your reality, questioning your values, questioning your beliefs. This is like peeling away layers of an onion. It can be a very painful experience, and it is in a lot of ways like a deconstruction. And when I was doing more shamanic Reiki, which was almost a decade ago, really, I went through my first little death, which is basically spiritual deconstruction or spiritual unraveling, where my totem animals, which were at the time, and still are, wolf and bear. And I had a very vivid, very lucid dream that almost felt like a waking dream, because I was on that cusp of coming out of like that delta state of deep, deep sleep, but kind of moving into theta and kind of moving into a waking alpha at the same time. It was a very weird kind of sweet spot to experience this event. But it was a spiritual deconstruction of being clawed to death by my bear totem animal, my spirit animal, and then being eaten by wolf. And in kind of the shamanic world, that's kind of a blessing, because that meant that the person that I was, there was not much more that person could offer me. And in fact, the expansion that I was asking for, that person that I was, that vessel that held me, quote unquote, the ego me, the spiritual me, whatever, all of that was wrapped up in the vessel of me at the time, had to go. So that can be one way to experience the little death. It can be really painful. And in fact, it was, because I went through a period of a couple months after that, where I was, after that period of deconstruction, it literally felt like everything that was me was gone. It was very strange. I mean, I still had the memory of me, but I knew that at that point I had to navigate in the world differently if everything that I was asking for as part of my spiritual expansion was going to come to pass. I needed to rebuild, recreate myself, and live out a different reality that had a totally different vibration to it. This is what happens with the little death, okay? It is an ego death. And so it is going from, sometimes very radically, one vibrational way of being, holding one frequency that's kind of like a wave that you go in and out of. You kind of hold this frequency and different kind of frequencies around that everyday waking life, same old frequency. There'll be fluctuations, but it's basically the same. And when you go through an ego death, what happens is you might be at this vibration here. Let's just say if you are tuning into a radio station that is you might go from 88.5 and then change vibration or change frequency and be at 106.9. That's a big shift for a human being, okay? That's a huge vibrational shift. And that's what it can feel like when we have an ego death, when we have the little death. Sometimes it doesn't feel so little. But when it happens, rest assured, you will never go through something. You will never be given anything. You will never be bestowed the gift of an experience that you cannot handle. That's part of our pact, our vow with the universe, that kind of trust and faith and support that we have to surrender ourselves to, that no matter what happens, we're going to be okay. I happen to truly believe that. And one of the things that I mentor people through as they're going through these little deaths is, gently reminding them, but very firmly reminding them that it feels like something you can't handle. That's the last gasp of your ego dying out. You can handle this. You got this. But what are you going to do with it? And the way a mental breakdown or a physical breakdown, emotional, spiritual breakdown will feel more painful to you is directly correlated with the amount of resistance that you hold to what is next. So my dog is not giving up on chasing this squirrel, and he is scolding him. It's very funny. Sorry. So the amount of resistance that you hold to what is next, meaning, how will you take this journey? Will you just stop and say, no, I'm white knuckling who I have been. I'm not going to let this go. I'm not going to let this go. I'm not going to let this go. I can't change my reality. And we're kind of like shutting our eyes really tightly and holding on for dear life to this person that we have been. that mental breakdown, aka leading to a possible breakthrough if you don't have the resistance to it. But if you do have the resistance, you're going to feel really uncomfortable. It's going to feel like a breakdown. And so the difference really ends up being with, okay, well, if you have this kind of spiritual bias as I do, that the mental breakdowns only come to pass when we have reached the end of our tether at being the person that we have been. Meaning, you are resisting the truth of you. You are resisting the authentic you that is ready to emerge, kind of like a butterfly from a chrysalis. You are resisting moving into the next phase of your growth. It's going to feel uncomfortable. If you are just, like I said, like kind of white knuckling and holding on for dear life to this old you that you have been, like, I don't want to change, I don't want to change, I don't want to change. If you're resisting the breakthrough on that level, you are basically saying to the universe, well, these expansive energies that are happening, I don't want any part of them. Even though growth is natural, change is natural, my shift is imminent, I'm going to resist it anyway. Be prepared to be in a lot of turmoil. Be prepared to experience a shit ton of emotional upheaval. Be open to the experience that people are going to leave your life in very painful ways, because you're going to resist just as much as you're resisting your own change. You are still changing in your vibration. You are still shifting your consciousness. Even though you're in this place of resistance, that's what makes it feel painful. But people are going to come in and out of your life based on the new vibration, the new frequency that you're holding. Experiences, events are going to be different in your life based on the vibration that you are now holding, because you're going through this consciousness shift. You're going through this mental breakdown. You are changed. No matter how much you're resisting that or not, you are changed. But the process can be more graceful if you surrender to the fact that, okay, this breakdown is painful, but it's going to lead to a breakthrough. Meaning, I trust and I have faith that the universe is going to support me on this journey of becoming who I am truly meant to be. And what is that? Again, your resistance is going to have a great deal to do with how much you're willing to imagine what this new version of you could look like, better yet, feel like. When we try to envision what our ideal life could be like, this can often get us into a little rut, and it can often narrow our ability to imagine what is possible. Because think of it this way. When you go through a consciousness shift by having a mental breakdown, hopefully that leads to a mental breakthrough, you go through a little death, the ego death, and you have changed your vibration. That's inevitable. You have shifted to a different frequency, a higher elevated state of consciousness. Again, no matter how much you're resisting that, that's still happening. So that means that everything shifts along with that. That means your imagination shifts along with that. It opens up. So what you were able to imagine in your life or even visualize a year ago is much different than what you would imagine now, because your frequency has changed. It has shifted as you have shifted in consciousness, as you have elevated your frequency. So don't limit yourself to what you can just visualize. Instead, open up to and kind of play with your imagination and elevate your ability to imagine by going into the feeling of how you want to feel every day as you go through this shift, this up level. Practice going into, okay, well, if everything was working out in my life the way I want it to be, my career is exceptional, my family life is beautiful, we all communicate with each other wonderfully, and we all support each other, my immediate family and my extended family, my friends are only becoming closer to me, and those who are not meant to be with me on this journey are falling away and leaving room for new people to come into my tribe. If you are imagining what that feels like rather than what that looks like, why limit yourself to just what it looks like? Because here's the truth. The way things are moving along now at the elevated frequency that we're in, and in these shifts in consciousness that are taking us to very, very high wavelengths and frequencies of and ways of being, why limit yourself to what you have been in the habit of imagining over the last year, over the last 5 years, by just how something looks. Go into the feeling of it. Because the truth of the matter is that how you think things will look is never the way it ends up looking when it comes to pass. And I've been delightfully surprised by these unpredictable outcomes. And I've just been open to the feeling of it, so that when you are so keen on what it's going to feel like, when your life is in that sweet spot, when you are living as your highest and best ideal, and everything in your life is in that same frequency of your highest and best ideal, what does that feel like? Open yourself up to that. And everything that's in alignment with that frequency will flow in with a lot of grace, with a lot of ease. And that means, yes, certain things will fall away. And yes, that means that you will grieve for old parts of self. That's part of the ego death, unfortunately. And that's what makes it painful. Because literally the person that we have been, which has felt close to us, is gone. And we grieve for that for a small period of time. You don't have to stay in that frequency of grief or loss or feeling like you are voluntarily abandoning that old you. What is true self-abandonment is when you don't honor the process of your own growth and you try to resist it. True self-abandonment is when you don't allow yourself to be happy for the changes that are occurring, that are taking your life forward in positive ways. That's self-abandonment. Self-abandonment is also when you are trying to still manage other people's expectations of the old you as you're transforming, as you're literally, upgrading in your frequency, up-leveling to great elevated levels of consciousness. If you're still trying to manage other people's expectations of the old you, that's also self-abandonment. You don't have to do that. That keeps you in the frequency of staying with this ego death longer than you need to. The ego death, and it's called the little death because it can happen really quickly. And if you know that this process is happening, and you give yourself the grace of just letting these feelings wash through you, and not sit and marinate in these lower frequencies as they're happening, as we shed these levels, it's going to be painful. It's going to feel like your mind is cracking open, and that can be painful. But if you're sitting and dwelling on it, marinating in this, you'll draw out this ego death longer than it needs to. Does that make sense? Courtney says accurate, completely different than I imagined a year ago. Absolutely. This is how fast we're changing. This is how fast these heightened frequencies, these levels of consciousness, these cosmic codes of ascension awareness are hitting us in the fields down here on planet Earth. We don't have to be in the pain of it. You're opting in for it. If you want to stay in the victimhood of why is this happening to me, that will draw out this ego death, this breakdown, much longer than it needs to be. Okay? Timely reminder. Thank you. You're welcome. So I had, in this week alone, in this past week, I should say, gone through 2 ego deaths. And because I know what this feels like, because of the spiritual deconstruction that I talked about at the beginning of this call, and what I experienced with my totem animals literally tearing me apart and eating me up, I know what this is. I know all about it. And it feels different this time around. I had these 2 ego deaths in dreams, but they had more to do with water this time and being drowned. And water is a really interesting frequency because water is an energy of change. Water is an energy of flow. And it was definitely a deeper imagery that I was being shown, that I was being told that you have to flow with this. You have to just be in the grace of this kind of wave of energy that's supporting you into your next level of awakening, your next level of cracking open, to experience more, to hold more, to accommodate more energy. And this is definitely in alignment with my path of being a thought leader, being a way shower, being able to crack myself open that much more and be aware and present with my awakening process that much more, so that I can help others who are just a little further behind me, sometimes really just a little further behind me, and sometimes people who are just waking up to these energies. One of the women that was sharing this information with yesterday. I do a weekly guided wellness meditation series at the community center here in Tahoe. And we were talking about this level of awakening. And it can be very confusing. And I remember what it was like when I was at the beginning of my journey. And that's where she's at. She's at this beginning of her journey of waking up, of cracking open. It's uncomfortable. And so if it's uncomfortable for you, don't be shy about reaching out and asking for help. You know, if you have a mentor that you trust, that you feel like, okay, this person is just further enough along on their path of cracking open and waking up that they can help me and see where I'm at because they were there, and it's maybe still fresh in their mind because it wasn't too long ago that they were there. Reach out to that person, get mentorship, get help. You don't have to do this alone. And when you feel like you have to lone wolf it, you know, what is that saying? What is that about? For women, it can often feel like we have to be the champions of the world. We have to, you know, suffer through the chaos, and we have to do it alone. We don't ask for help. We don't ask for the support that we need, because a lot of times we feel like we have to be the rock. We have to be the one that's like, you know, steady as she goes, the rock in the storm, and we have to be this immovable force. But meanwhile, we're still going through these incredible shifts and changes and uplevels in consciousness. And while we're in pain, we're trying to be a vessel for everyone else's pain and trying to take on everyone else's, drama and chaos and trying to help them through. Meanwhile, our cup is depleted. Our vessel is depleted. Don't be that person. You don't have to be a hero, okay? We're suffering through this kind of hangover as a lot of timelines are dying out around religious indoctrination that has to do with like vengeful, wrathful God type stuff and the diminishing of the feminine, and we feel like we have to be stronger than ever, right? We have to be the rock more than ever. We can't show weakness, and this is bullshit, and you're buying into a paradigm that's actually dying out. You can be strong as fuck and still ask for help. You know, you can still be the rock and get the support that you need. In fact, you'll be a better rock if you call out for help and get the help that you need. Get what you need sorted. Get your oxygen mask on, and then you can help everybody else. You don't have to be a hero. There's no reward here for that, by the way, for playing the martyr. There's no reward in heaven or on earth for pretending that you're the hero while you're suffering inside. Okay, so don't be that person. Lead by example, by showing others that I can still be strong as fuck and get the help that I need at the same time. Yes, I'm getting a lot of hearts, so people are feeling me on that. So if you're going through this little ego death, this breakdown that's hopefully leading to a breakthrough, understand that it is all about your perspective, okay? How are you viewing yourself right now in this moment? Are you getting messages, nudges from the universe that there is more? But meanwhile, you are aware of this breakdown happening. You're aware of this shift in consciousness happening, but you're still white-knuckling who you are and who you have been. That resistance is going to lead to more pain. That resistance is going to lead to more struggle and suffering. You are opting in for that. The universe is not doing that to you, okay? The universe is showing you where you are sabotaging this process of your own growth and expansion into more of your own truth. Do not fear what is next, because this is only more of an awakening of you becoming more of you becoming more of your authentic self, you stepping into more of your truth, you stepping into more of your light, you stepping into more of your role as a leader. And yes, we are all oracles, ladies and gentlemen, for you who are watching as well, you are oracles too. Because the fact that we are divine extensions of source consciousness in a human form here on this planet means that by virtue of default, we are all leaders, we are all oracles. We all have the ability to be beacons of light through which divine codes, divine messages can flow through us. When we have less resistance to that process, it becomes more graceful. The peeling away of all the layers and the shifts in consciousness that can be painful become less so. that pain, that ego need to want to seem powerful or seem strong, to seem like we are in control of our lives. The importance of that, showcasing a person that we are really not, and all we are not, that recedes. That becomes less important. And when that does, we open up to more of self. We become better oracles. So I want to leave you with that, and I want to invite you to change your perspective around these mental breakdowns that are happening, that are hopefully leading to breakthroughs. They are more likely to lead to breakthroughs if you are less resistant of this process. Be more tuned in to the higher field of awareness, the great witness that lies within each and every one of us, by the way. There's a higher field of intelligence that is animating us, that is driving us forward, that is building cells and having cells die off in our body, that is keeping the heart beating, that is keeping the brain going. There's a higher field of intelligence animating each and every one of us, this great witness that we all have access to, that we all have the ability to communicate with. If we can just for a moment step outside of the purview of ego and go inward and connect and be one with what truly is. That's where all your truth lies. That's where all of your answers that you have burning questions to lies. Okay? So I want to leave you in peace, and I hope you have an absolutely beautiful weekend, and I'll see you tomorrow for the weekly energy check-in for the week of 7/7. And in this very intense portal of energy that is the 7/7 portal of energy, it's like a portal within a portal. The 7/7 portal within the portal of July, which is a potent vessel of energy. It's going to leave you feeling like it's too much, it's too much, it's too much. So this is why I wanted to do this live and talk about this today, because it's so important to get our perspective, to gain some control back, and to redirect back into that higher field of consciousness and awareness within us, where all the answers are that are really going to help us on this journey. Love and peace.